Imogen and I had a bit of a chat on the trail when we were mandarin hunting. I have maybe only tomorrow, perhaps, to prove that I have value to them to keep, because they can vote me out at any time. The only person I have a very firm alliance with is Elton.
Yeah.
I can't, I wouldn't vote Elton out.
Mine is with Nick.
There's probably no stronger two, other than you two, than Elton and me. If we wanted to, we could be a very strong four.
Okay.
It's just stuff to think about.
Dave's given me a very good pitch. I can see why he's a politician. He's a very, very good salesman.
David, you're a master tactician.
Welcome to Australian Survivor Archives, the only podcast going over the complete history of Australian Survivor from Whalers Way right through to the current day. After a fantastic interview with Wayne Gardner last week, we are back to bring you another episode recap. We are up to episode 6, the halfway point of the season. That is the only time we will ever utter those words on this show. In the future, this will be the quarterway point of most seasons, I think. But this episode first aired on the 21st of September 2006, and we're at the merge. For the very first time in history, we get a merge buff in Australian Survivor, and plenty to talk about in this episode. My name is Ben, but you can call me Johnny No Mates.
Hey, Ben. Hey, listeners. Matt Dyson here, as always. And, Ben, it's great to be back. We've had a little time off, and, it's the business end. I think it's only perfect, and it's rather fitting that the fact we get into merge this episode, that we're on the home stretch now, Ben, and we're gonna tackle the rest of the season hard. We've got plenty more great interviews to come. We've got plenty of great episodes to talk about. And this episode, a merge episode, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. It's a pretty decent episode. And, as you just kind of said there about having a bit of time off, I think this is quickly will just sort of destroy the magic of podcasting and illusions and timeframes. Obviously, people have heard a couple of episodes in a row and think, you haven't had time off, you're back. But in terms of the order we've recorded these in, this is actually the first episode we have recorded based on our break. So hence why maybe in the last couple of weeks you didn't hear us sort of say like, hey, we're back. It's been, a couple of months. But we've had a bit of time off, a bit of regrouping happening. And I'm with you, excited to get back into these recaps and go over things. Because what is fascinating is that if you're watching this for the first time, if you're at home and you're listening and you've never seen this and you're watching this for the first time, that we haven't really been backwards in coming forwards in saying who the winner is of this season, and you've probably heard us allude to kind of, there's a twist and all this sort of stuff, but maybe that's something you've forgotten about, maybe you've kind of taken some months off with us and haven't caught up, so now all of a sudden you're watching this going, Guy Leach gets voted out, huh? Like, this doesn't make sense. And it is actually still kind of weird to watch this episode to see Guy Leach get voted out, isn't it? Knowing what will happen. But, plenty to unpack in this episode, because this is one of those unique episodes where we're going to kind of eulogize a person, but not really eulogize a person, particularly that this is the guy who wins this show. No pun intended there.
Well, this is the beauty about this season, Ben. Everyone gets voted out.
Yeah.
It is true. Everyone in this season gets voted out. And that's why there'll always be debate about who the best player is of this season, who should have won. Yes, we've said it. We're not a big fan of this twist. Obviously, when everyone gets voted out in the season, it kind of, it can harm the season a little bit. But yeah, look, Guy does end up getting voted out this season. But what I love about Guy is he's taken this game so seriously, and you can see him. We'll talk about it later on. Like, he's not happy. Like, he knows he's on the chopping block this entire episode, And he's doing whatever he can to stay in. And that's what I love about it. Yes, it's a celebrity version of Survivor. But when you got players like Guy Leach who are trying to do everything they can to stay in the game, that's where it gives that sort of authenticity to this season that, hey, these people want to be here and they want to win.
Absolutely. And we've talked a little bit about Guy throughout this season, as you just said, how serious he took this and how much he wanted to win. And sort of, we've alluded to a few times his interview with the Golden God, which is a great interview. If nobody's ever heard of it, go back and listen to it. I believe that was the very first episode that David Jeanette did on his podcast. And Guy goes into a lot of details about that. And of course, I had the honour of speaking with him briefly over on the Hall of Fame at the end of 2020 as well. And of course, we will get him on the show to kind of elaborate into that. But what I really picked up on my conversation with Guy is, that passion that he had for this show, the passion and how much he wanted to win it. He said that he was constantly courted to appear on Dancing with the Stars and Celebrity this and Celebrity that, and the only one he wanted to do was Survivor because he was such a fan of it and he took it so seriously. So, and you and I have sort of pointed out a few times this season about sort of the little subtle things that Guy does and kind of, while he's arguably the hardest winner to ever rank in terms of the winners of Australian Survivor, and by default will probably always end up at the bottom of that just based on how he won and everything along those lines. If he had a chance to play a full season playing the way he was and won it that way, we'd be talking about him very differently. So we'll obviously go through that a little bit more at the end of this episode and ultimately when he wins, but he's just a very interesting person, as you said too at the beginning, on a very interesting season to kind of go through.
And I think that's why last episode was such a big episode with Wayne Gardner leaving. I mean, if Wayne Gardner would have stayed longer in this game, those two, I got no doubt, would have got to the end. Like they both wanted to be there. They both wanted to play hard. Obviously, when Guy lost his right-hand man, Wayne Gardner, this is obviously the initial demise of Guy Leach, which we see straight up, like moving in straight into this episode, Ben, back on back on night 11, when they get back, like Guy knows, shit's got real. Like he knows now he's the number one target. He's just lost his mate, his main alliance in Wayne Gardner, and he's looking around like he knows his time's numbers. And he even says it. He basically knows that he's probably only got 2 more days left in his game.
Which, again, we've said constantly in this season that, people always overlook this and season 1 and, push it aside, wasn't real Survivor and that sort of stuff. But again, I would argue what we get here back at camp is what is Survivor, what people like about Survivor. It's the aftermath. It's you blindsided me, like, oh, I had no idea, like, and this is probably the first instance we have in Australian Survivor where you kind of almost get this classic scene. Like, okay, you would argue in season 1, when Sophie goes, that it's kind of it's a bit different that way around when Katie's shocked, and obviously you get a bit more of a reaction that way. It's a bit of a different reaction. But this feels, and like I've said throughout this season as well, that this kind of is a bridging season between old school and new school Survivor. This is very new school Survivor. This is the morning after, Guy, like, you've hurt me, you've upset, and Nicole saying, oh, Gab, of course, couldn't tell you. And then Gab basically turning around and saying that, I'm here to have fun, I don't want to be around, and the game's starting. So again, this is very modern Survivor. This is what we modern Survivor fans like about this show. So again, it's just kind of important to point that out. But you're right, like when we talked about that in the episode recap, didn't we, about how big of a shift that was, between the two alliances. Gab's obviously, really kind of put a foot down with this, and she's going to be a very interesting one to kind of talk about now over the coming weeks about where she goes, because even in this episode, there's still a bit of a question about what Gab's going to do, isn't there?
Well, it's interesting. She has a good confessional, actually, and she says that she feels that she doesn't feel she was being disloyal to Wayne or Guy because, that the girls have shown her more loyalty. So that's an interesting one. She never, we covered it so much. She wasn't getting along with Wayne. That was obvious. We've spoken to Wayne about it. He didn't like her work ethic. So that was pretty evident that those two just didn't mix in a game of Survivor, So, and that obviously hurt Guy's game. And Guy knew it. We've covered off on this. Guy knew that relationship was going to hurt him down the track, and it did, because once he lost Wayne, he was the main target. But, Gabby's such an interesting one because she hasn't really wanted to play this game that much. I think she probably came onto this show, okay, it's Survivor, but she probably, wasn't there to really play Survivor. She was there occasionally to be on TV, get a bit more exposure. But then all of a sudden she found herself in this game thinking, hey, if I want to stay longer, I do need to actually play. And that's where at this point, she has, being the swing vote, or as I think Nicole later calls her the swinging voter. I like that. The swinging vote. I've never heard that before. The swinging voter. But
different context, different shows I'm watching there, Matt. But we won't get into that.
Talking about Nicole, early on in this episode, she comes running down with the tree mail. Like everyone else, if you have a look in camp, everyone looks like they're totally cooked. Like honestly, like they just do not look in good shape. But Nicole's just running down. Like she has got way too much energy for that time in the morning. Can I just say, I don't know. She must have annoyed Amber at some stage because we all know Amber wasn't the morning person, but she's got way too much energy running down. I just thought it was funny because Imogen looked like she had the worst night's sleep. If you look closely in that, like she looked like she probably got like less than an hour's sleep all night. And here Nicole is all happy and excited, but yeah, got a bit of tree mail there as well.
Just before I get to that, I just wanted to say one thing. It's interesting with Gabs. Like, I mean, you mentioned Amber. She obviously did the big swing blindside on Fiona before, but then she kind of was, victim number 2 next episode. Whereas, again, Gab doesn't really kind of, like what really interests me about this episode, and I just want to say this now before I forget, is that the guys have the numbers. And I guess you argue Justin, well, he wasn't with the guys from the beginning, so, is he really a guy? He wasn't a Kakula from beginning, so he's technically a Moso, original Moso, but, like, the way they kind of talk a lot in this episode about, Guy or Elton or that being on the outs, like, to me, like, I'm sure they try to sway Justin a lot more than we ever get to see in this episode, but, I mean, if the guys had just stuck together, but, again, that also is a question is you make it a bit difficult because, yeah, obviously we see straight away when they're about to merge that Justin and Gabs are very close, and that's going to be a key little alliance that we'll get to. But, yeah, the merge, I always wonder with these, and I'm going to be a dick to you here, Matt. I'd ask you how it is done, but you only lasted like a minute. But like the mergers, like particularly in the old versions of old seasons of Survivor, like you've got 10 minutes, hurry up. Like I kind of want to believe that it's like just done for show. It's all right, cut, guys, hurry up, get in there. Like I mean, because it's kind of just the way it's done. Like they've got 10 minutes, and as you said, like Imogen looks dead to the world. Like everyone is there, just like fuck everything. Like. I love Imogen Bailey. She is amazing. But I can't imagine that Imogen Bailey looking that dead tired is going to be like, 10 minutes, let's go. Like, I think Imogen Bailey is going to be like, no, I am not doing this in 10 minutes. I need to do this. I need to do that. Like, come on.
Well, absolutely. If you wake up and say, well, first I like to do a morning crap.
Yeah, exactly.
So I ain't getting on any canoes until I do the morning crap.
Yeah.
Then I want to pack my bag. I mean, let's be honest. What are they going to do? If she just says, no, I need 25 minutes.
Yeah, what's the punishment? What is the punishment for not taking 10 minutes?
And I'm not going to get on those canoes until I'm ready. What are they going to do? Oh, you're out of the show? No,
like
not.
Are these Vanuatu like boat people? Are they very busy? Like, are they just like, come on, tick, 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 tick? We've got to carry our tribe leaders to work. Like, well, I told you we've got 10 minutes. We're going to sail off without you. I'm sure if they did that, they're just going to get a speedboat. And yeah, I don't see the punishment here of taking 11 minutes.
unless they send in Ben Wynn to put him in a chokehold or something, or have a conversation with them, maybe bore them out. But
I was going to say, it would be talking to them. That's enough.
Look, honestly, mate, a lot of that stuff's empty threats because at the end of the day, the contestants hold all the power, even in Survivor Now. Like, in Survivor Now, the contestants hold the power because if you don't have the contestants, you don't have a show, and millions of dollars are going into these seasons. So, if someone wants to take an extra 10 minutes, they're going to take an extra 10 minutes. Now, Ben, this is my favourite part. They don't waste any time, too. They get straight into the tree mail. I'm going to read it. Not really much. It is a merged, obviously, episode, but the tree mail is Kakula is no more. Moso is no more. Outrigger canoes are on the way, and you have 10 minutes to pack everything you can. You may only take what you will fit on the canoes. So really not much in the way of tree mail, basically saying that their tribe's no more and they got 10 minutes to pack up. And then Gabby's excited because she didn't think she would last that long in the game. And I think probably a lot of us are pretty amazed right now because, like I said, she hasn't really done a lot in this game so far.
Which, I mean, she's always going to be one of these ones coming into this season where she's an interesting one to talk about. And, I don't ever want to go back and listen to that dreaded Oz Network rank the Australian Survivor contestants, because I would be so embarrassed about how I would talk about certain people now. But yeah, she if you and I ever do that one day, which would be a fun little project to do, I think that it would. She's a very interesting one to read. Like I talk about how Justin Melvey is going to be a very interesting one to kind of decode, but I think we're learning a lot more about Justin's game throughout it. But yeah, Gab's just like. Because the narrative of Gab really moving forward is going to be she's lazy, but we need her, and then she has this weird thing with Justin and this controversy that was going to come very soon, and it's just like she's an odd cookie. So yeah, and she does hold the power so much here, because the way they kind of imply this episode is that, again, she still maybe hasn't made her mind up. So yeah,
I'll say one thing though. She seems to get along really well with the females, and I think you might look at her and people's first impressions were like, oh, she mightn't get along with other females and stuff like that, but they seem to love her.
Yeah,
and I don't know whether that is,
didn't we? I think at the very beginning.
I don't know whether that's just because they need a vote, otherwise they're going to get voted out. But she does seem likable. Wayne's the only one that's had a problem with her, and that's obviously because Wayne was all about work ethic. And clearly she's not about work ethic, but it's a way to play the game, like playing the game where you're just sitting back, not pretending you're not really interested in just going with the flow. A lot of the time people forget about you and they'll target everyone else. Like they'll target Wayne Gardner, they'll target Guy Leach, they'll target Ambers, like all these other players, where she just sort of sliding on through. Yes, a few people annoyed at her, but she's got to merge.
Who she does actually remind me of? She reminds me of Cook Island's Parvati, where everybody remembers Parvati as this amazing player, and I'm not saying Parvati isn't an amazing player, but Parvati wasn't the player that people remember her as until Micronesia, till Heroes Villains. If you go back and watch Cook Islands, Parvati doesn't really do that much, and she's one of these questionable ones that people kind of question, why was she back for Micronesia? It's hard to believe that now, because Boston Rob was exactly the same for All Stars. Like, people did question why Boston Rob was back. And again, it's hard to imagine that now given the legendary status each of them holds. But yeah, like Cook Island's Parvati, if you think about it, she flirted a bit with Nate. And then she just kind of hung around for a bit. And what did she get? Like 5th in Cook Islands or something like that? So yeah, I think she's very similar to Parvati Cook Islands, Gabby.
It's funny. I think that's where credit needs to go to the people, obviously, behind the scenes of, production and all that, who pick these people to come back. Because I think, in Australian Survivor, you look at someone like Tarzan, who only lasted, I think, 11 days in his first season, but they obviously saw something in him and said, like, no, give this guy another chance. If you can make it, a decent amount of time, he'll be a fan favorite. And of course he was, and he, almost made it to the end. So, and same with Boston Rob and all that. And like you said, Parvati. So yeah, I mean, credit got to go to the people behind the scenes who are spotting these people, maybe on their first go aren't either doing well or the big star of the season, but they get them back and they become, one of these Survivor players that everyone just, they know their name as soon as it's said.
I agree with you. I mean, I was always an advocate when, Sierra Dawn Thomas came back for a second time. I remember a lot of people like, why the hell is she back? And through the stories that I had heard about her, sort of, that you never got to see, like she was one of these ones who was great, and we saw a great second time around for her. But I think, Matt, you're just obviously selling that too, so that clearly people listening to this right now, hello Channel 10, Matt Dyson, he's ready to go, his bags are probably there, just second chances, he's ready out there, just
I'm always ready, Ben, always ready.
Is your bag like literally always at the door, so that if Channel 10 like call you up like, fuck, we've run out of personal alternate, get in a plane, okay, bye Hanan, see ya, enjoy the Twins?
Yeah, that's right. I think if I said I was going away and leaving the Twins, my bag, she would pack my bags for me probably. But
just take the Twins along with you. Quick question for you before we sort of get to this merger reaction, because I really like sort of particularly what I can get from David Oldfield here. But the 3 versions of a merge that I think are pretty prominent in Survivor. There are other ones, but these are the ones I'm going to point out. What's your favourite? Do you like the Season 1 Whalers Way, let's all bring you together and bring some Lay's chips and just have a nice little gentle conversation in a shower and kind of just Lincoln's chewing the fat with you? Do you like a surprise one where you've got the boat showing up to one tribe and all of a sudden they're just coming together? Or do you like the, come on in guys, drop your buffs, it's merge, let's have a merge feast? Like what's your preference?
I've got to admit, I'm old school. I think I like, Whalers Way in the Season 1. I think I like where the tribes come in, they do a bit of a, whether it be a feast. I know they didn't really have a feast then, what they have eaten the Lay's chips, but the shower, I thought that was a great idea, giving them the shower all together, and I thought that was brilliant. So yeah, for me, I think that's what I like to see. I'm not the drop your buffs. Can we be honest? I mean, we've seen that so many times. The old drop your buffs. You know, it was probably good the first 20 times, but yeah, it's, you know, half the time we know it. We know the merge is coming anyway. Or yeah, so I kind of like that. I like that this is a genuine merge when it's time to merge, and then, you know, give them a shower, give them a feed, and see what happens. Yeah.
The only thing I like about modern Survivor with the merge is kind of the unknown. When's it going to happen? Like, and the US does it better. Again, Australian Survivor, you fucking never know what it's going to happen, because it's like, let's have 58,000 tribe swaps. There's Exile Island and Beach and, you know, this, that, and everything else. It's confusing. Whereas the problem with the old school is that, yeah, like they got to a point where they knew what was going to happen on this certain day and that. The one I really like, which they will never do again, but like, do you remember Borneo when they had the summit? Wasn't it like Jenna and Sean sat down on the table and kind of had a date, right, and then basically they had to discuss whose beach was better, I mean, very old school. You're never going to get away with that again. But I used to like the summit, the come together and have a chat, and then we'll work out where we're going to go. So that's personally my favorite, but I actually don't mind this. I don't mind the other tribe is coming to our beach sort of thing. It's kind of interesting.
I've got no problem with this. I actually really like it. Like, don't have a problem with the way they did this. I thought you were a fan of when they do the merge, but then they bring back Shonny and Zach back, and then just after they spent one night on Exile, and then give them a buff and say you're now in the team. Don't even make them pick the buff. They just give them.
I like, when we get to Channel 10, Ben's going to be complaining a lot about these pointless twists.
Can I just say that's the one thing I have to admit, that's the one thing that annoys me. That's probably my number one thing. That to me, I felt robbed after watching that season. I'm like, what was the point of the episode before? Anyway, I'm getting off track.
Could have been worse. Could have been Dead Man Walking, Matt. Let's bring that up again.
Hey, one thing I love here, David's reaction.
Oh God,
to the canoes. Now, can I just say, of course, David's cooking breakfast. Does this guy, is he just cooking 24? Has he got like a cook? Is he doing Survivor and then also doing like a reality cooking show at the same time?
Well, he went on to be that, what was that one he was on? He was on some cooking show eventually. Like I think he's been on about 5 different celebrity shows, but he's definitely been on a cooking show.
Yeah, they need to get him back and make it 6 reality shows. But yeah, I did love this. He's there cooking. David, of course, sees the canoes coming in. He's annoyed that they're interrupting the breakfast. I don't know. I'm assuming that's David's pet hate when he's trying to cook up a feast and someone interrupts it. I love Justin's brilliant here. His confessional where he's like, "Ooh, I knew it was time," and he's like, "That's this little ha ha ha." It's so good. It's like it's almost like it's like doing a movie and they've given him the script, but he does it. He goes, "Oh, I knew there was a merge." Has begun, or something. He's like, a new merge has begun, or something like that. But it, just the way he does these confessionals and the way he sort of they get it out of him, so brilliant.
Yeah, I agree, and I wish it's we'll have to put the video of this up on our, maybe we already have during the week, but I just love the way they cut to David's face, the way he's kind of just looking up. And he's kind of like, like that to me almost feels like a natural reaction. Like that's kind of like they've deliberately got the camera's focus because, you would have a moment where all of a sudden, you're looking. Like it feels quite natural. But I love the whole conversation when they're like basically like, we'll kill Guy, we'll eat Nikki, eat the women or whatever it is. And what do they say about Gabby? Like, oh, she's very exotic flavor. I like the way that they're like shocked that Wayne's gone. So that's kind of a cool little moment.
I love how they say we'll keep the women, and Justin actually says, "Oh, let's eat the women."
Yeah,
and then and then it's Elton who actually Elton realizes, "Oh shit, Wayne's actually gone."
Yeah,
and he's like, Yeah.
And Guy straight away on the beach, he's like, fuck, mate, I'm fucked. Like,
and then Elton's just like, oh, curveball. Yeah. That's all he can. And then
Elton's like, oh yeah, look at this beach, it's good shit I can smash over here.
But then David's like, curveball in our direction though. Like David's always thinking. He's always like, okay, is this going to work in our favor? Because I think he loves a curveball. Like he doesn't want to play this game just easily. But and then. I think Elton's confused about what's actually going on here.
Yeah, Elton doesn't have a clue. We know he's been hit in the head a few times.
But this is where he's like, well, it doesn't look like we're going to roast Wayne, but we'll still kill Guy. He still wants to kill Guy. He goes, we'll eat Nikki. And he goes, and we'll keep Imogen and Gabby. And then that's when it was Justin. He's like, he thinks that she has a bit of international flavour, the Gabby. I think he's wanting
the exotic flavour or whatever it is.
Exotic flavour, that's it.
Which the interesting thing here is because this is the first time we ever kind of get an inkling that Justin and Gabby know each other, because they turn around and say like, we're on Dancing with the Stars. I mean, okay, like we sort of got that with Kim Johnson, but I think, is this just Channel 7 going, we expect you all watch our shows so you all know that these people know each other? Like, which, I mean, okay, maybe they do, and fair enough. They would want to expect that people watch their shows. But, yeah, I mean, look, I think we've talked about this. I've never watched Dancing with Stars in my life. So, yeah, good for them knowing each other. But, like, it's kind of important that all of a sudden you're going to see these two, because it's a bit of a talking point this season. We sort of alluded this to certain guests and that in the past, and it is definitely one of my big questions that if we do get Justin or Gab on the show, like, I'm like, come on, what happened? Like, it's been 15 years now. Spill, like, what sort of deal was made? Like, there had to be something. Because, again, this is one criticism I definitely have of this season, is that it does get mentioned, but it gets very much glossed over. Like, I feel you never get any explanation about what they're trying to say with it. So,
hopefully. I mean, that's what we're here for, Ben. We're trying to get to the bottom of all this.
Well, exactly. We've discovered the turd. So kind of we've cleared that up. I've looked up here the first season of Australian Dancing with the Stars, which we know that Justin Melvey got third on with Kim Johnson. Gabrielle Richards was actually the second eliminated, sadly, for Gabby. She went out. James Tompkins, you remember that name? One of the awesome foursome Olympic rower. He was first out. Also on that season, Katrina Warren. Do you remember Dr. Harry's Practice?
I do.
She was the sort of the sidekick to him.
Big
Matt
fan,
Shervington. I think now he's more known as a TV host, or he's like a commentator, I think, on Foxtel. But of course, Olympic sprinter, ran in Sydney, the 100 metres.
Good in his tights.
Very, very big man in many ways. John Wood, Mr. Never won a gold Logie until he finally did. And Pauline Hanson was a runner-up on that season to Beck Hewitt. Does that mean we have to play some Beck Cartwright at the end of this episode, Matt? She had a couple of songs. Was they 2006?
Do you reckon they just give gold Logies out to these people that have been in the show business? I mean, it's happened. It happened with Ray Ma, John Wood, these ones that are like they've just been in the show business so long and they've never got the Logie, and then there's a bit of people sort of get behind them, and next second they win the Logie. You reckon?
Are you trying to say that you and I are due for one soon? Like,
I'm just saying.
I've been around the media landscape now for nearly 20 years, so I'm about due for a gold Logie.
Yeah,
I think.
I just know, of course, Ray Ma, who plays Elf Stewart. He's been on that show 40 years,
and then he won it.
Come on, and that's what I'm saying. Yes, he probably deserved it, but do you think sometimes if you've been in it long enough, it's kind of like, okay.
The thing is, like, don't get me wrong, I love the Logies. I'm a bit of a Logie fanboy. But when it comes to utter prestige, the gold Logie is a popularity contest because it's literally for the most popular personality on Australian television. I mean, we've seen what's happened the last few years when what's his face, Tom Gleeson won it after basically winning it for what's his name, Grant Denyer. So I mean, kind of, and a lot of people have criticised that. So look, I mean, Hamish Blake won it one year. I mean, he'd been on TV for like a minute. He was a radio guy. So Matt, you technically could have been nominated for a gold Logie because you were on one episode.
My show won a gold Logie, but
Matt is
maybe not.
You're kind of a Logie winner.
What's your mate's name? The guy that came back and had the 2 episodes and they got rid of him. What did that? I've gone blank.
I have a mate.
The comedian. He loves Survivor, and we always he came
Rove.
Rove. Did he win?
God, how have I forgotten Rove already? Oh, Matt, you make me sad that I forgot Rove. Oh,
he won a Logie, didn't he? Probably.
He won about 3 in a row, Matt. Thank you very much.
Right.
3 gold in a row. Deserved every single one of them.
I can tell you right, he's never winning one again. Hey, in better news, Kakula turn up to Moso's Beach. So that's right. Kakula are actually going to Moso's Beach on this merge.
Which, again, I almost kind of like it when they go to a new beach because it's kind of starting again.
I agree.
Over that.
But I actually thought, to be honest, I actually thought they did go to a new beach. It wasn't until this rewatch when I was taking notes and I was like, they actually turned up at Moso Beach. So for some reason I thought, I should have known because obviously they come in with canoes and they're waiting for him. But for some reason, I actually thought they did go to a different beach. And you're right, you've got to have that third beach. I know, obviously, location, and you've got to find another location. It all adds cost to production and all that. But yeah, I mean, I do wish all survivors that merge new beach.
Now, the question I'm going to ask you, which might take us a little bit more to work out than I'm realising here, is who's meeting here for the first time in terms of who hasn't been on a tribe together? Guy, Gabby and Gabby were only purely Kakula.
Well, David and Nick wouldn't have met, wouldn't have been played together before, had they?
No, you're right. Because all the guys basically, none of those three guys would have been with any girls except for Gabby. So they would have had
So Guy and Elton and Dave. Yeah, that's right. So it's only obviously Gabby that's
So that's pretty easy then, isn't it? So that's really only Elton and David have not met Imogen and Gabby. Everyone else has been on a tribe with each other at some point. Yeah, they would have been, because obviously Gabby was on Moso.
Yeah,
Kakula, and Justin was on Moso. Yeah,
that's right. Because
okay, well, that was easy. There you go. Quicker to work out than possible. I mean, I don't know. I always kind of like noting that, like, back when Survivor used to be a little bit easier to, like, I when I was fully invested in all the time, and you kind of, if you had a swap or you had a merge, you would be like, okay, who hasn't, like, seen each other work? And that's kind of, again, a problem I have a lot with modern Survivor, particularly when you say you got this stupid edge of extinction, that, like, you will have people in the jury that have never associated with any of the final three, and like, well, how are you meant to vote for them? Like, you're doing it purely on perception of what you're seeing at Tribal. But go ahead.
So with Guy coming over, he had played with everyone at that stage, hadn't he?
Yes,
what we're saying?
Yeah. So Guy would have been with everyone. So would have Gabs, and would have Justin.
Yeah.
No, well, that's not true. Justin and Gabby hadn't played with each other.
Of course,
they're meeting for the first time on the beach. We see that. Who is it? I've got it written down here as a note. Somebody says the politics have just started. Is that David saying that?
Oh, what do they say?
Somebody says politics have started. Wayne is gone. I'm assuming that is a David quote.
Well, you would imagine. I don't think it was Elton. Elton's actually the one that says the very exotic flavour comment at the end that he throws in. So, I don't think it would be Elton. So you'd imagine it would be David comes up actually with a couple of good ones throughout this.
David's the MVP of this episode. I'm calling it right now. Not just because he wins immunity. But Nicole's a close second. Nicole actually had some strong moments this episode. But
he didn't win immunity. He was given immunity.
Hey, don't take that away from our man David Oldfield. He's a 2-3-time individual immunity. The record still stands. But we'll get to that immunity challenge. It's going to be an interesting one to talk about. But I like the conversations that we've got going here, like Gabby sort of explaining to David here kind of what went along with it there. Guy, sort of his chat going on with Elton as well. We get the line just before the reward challenge of it's on for young and old. That's a Gabby line, isn't it, I believe? Or is it it's a Guy line, I believe. Guy says that. It's kind of, again, going back to my point about how people sort of say, oh, this season is not Survivor, blah, blah, blah. Very classic Survivor scenes here. You got strategy going on right here before, and this isn't even the Tribal Council. This is a reward challenge. So straight away they're hitting their strides, aren't they? And basically, trying to work things out. So yeah, a lot of strategy in this episode. Again, people who are maybe listening to these and haven't watched these in a long time, like, find a copy of it, watch it, because there's a lot more strategy in this season than we ever got in season 1. And again, going back to my point that I've said a few times now, that this is very much a bridging season between the old and the new seasons, because you've got all of this strategy coming along, which is something which people complain that season 1 doesn't have, which we kind of pinpointed that it did have strategy, but not to this extent, I guess.
With this discussion between David and Guy, there's one line I absolutely love in it. He says, David's talking to Guy, and he goes, I suppose Wayne only had himself to blame. He goes, you never want to get the chicks offside. He says, they never forgive you. It just builds and builds. And it's so true. You never want to get them offside, Ben. I tell you, it's...
Yep.
Yeah. When you're playing Survivor, the girls often stick together. And, I think that was his downfall. You don't want to get them offside. And I just thought that was a classic line. He just put in there, they never forgive you.
Sound like you're speaking from experience there, Matthew Dyson. How'd that go for you? How'd the girls like you on Survivor? Oh goodness! Like how many more episodes are we away till we get to yours? About 87 episodes, I think. In the first two Channel 10 seasons. Oh, that is going to be our longest episode right now. I swear that episode is going to go for about 5 hours, and that's not even going to be the interview. So I have to interview you, Matt. A week after that, I have to somehow interview you. It's going to be, it's going to be fun.
We'll make it a quick one. Nice 20-minute interview.
You're like, Ben, don't want to talk about this. Refuse to answer it. Nah.
But no, I do like this little chat there between David and Guy because, David's talking about there's a lot of options that none that are really that fabulous for them, and Guy's straight onto it. He's telling David, you need to go and chat to Gabby. So Guy knows. He knows he's on the chopping block. So he's trying to put people in motion here to try to help his cause. So he's like, well, David, you go chat to Gabby. You go do this, you go do that. And that's what I love about Guy in this episode. He's not just laying down. Like he knows. It's pretty obvious that now that Gabby's sort of turned on the guys, that Guy, I mean, the guy's a bloody an athlete. He's an Iron Man. So he's got to be the number one threat. He knows that. So,
Matt, sorry to interrupt, mate, but hang on a minute. Back up. Is he a man or is he a machine? He's an Iron Man. Come on, say the line properly. We're about to get it. Like, come on.
I know. I was waiting for that to bring it up, but
you got to do that. But you're right. And like, I'm with you. I was about to say that. Like, I mean, Guy basically says at the very beginning of the episode, like, it's 2 more days until I go home. But I mean, he fights tooth and nail basically. Which the thing I sort of question with it, sort of going back to my point about why the guys don't try and stick together. It's like it's so heavily implied that it's Guy or Elton, and then kind of it's loosely implied it might be David. But we'll get to that obviously a little bit after. But David's never really a target, which is, again, very interesting. And we'll get to our man, Mr. Oldfield, about how he's so good at being able to kind of survive. Because, like, again, slimy politician from One Nation. You'd think he'd kind of be a target, but no.
Well, Nick does talk about wanting to get David out. So Nicole's definitely...
there's a little bit of conversation, but it kind of gets shot down. Yeah,
it does, because Nicole sort of does comment about, I think maybe if Guy wins immunity that... we should go after David. And Imogen, she's actually the one that shuts it down. She's like, no, like, we'll go Elton instead. So I think Nicole's the only one that at this stage is worried about David, obviously, because she knows he's a game player, but which of course he is. So she's not silly there. And that's what we always said, that Nicole is a great Survivor player because she knows that he mightn't be the physical threat that those bigger boys are, but as far as the game goes, he can hurt you in the long run.
Which is very fascinating, and we've got so much to talk about David still for this season when it gets heated up, and even in this episode still. But it'd be interesting to get to the bottom with Imogen and David when we get them on the show about how close they became maybe at this point or whatever. Because, the Hall of Fame interview I had with Imogen last year, she mentioned something about having a letter or an email from David that he basically sent her afterwards that she still probably got. And, like, obviously, I think David was very hurt about, sort of him getting betrayed by Imogen and Nicole. So I'm guessing there's some sort of close relationship that David and Imogen have formed at some point that I don't think we ever really get to see them first of all meeting and this sort of stuff. So I think there's a little bit more to maybe their friendship or something like that. But reward challenge, but we didn't get a tree mail, did we? So I don't get.
No, I read the tree mail. Reward challenge. No, the tree mail was just for the merge. Now, Ben, they hand out the new bus. We got a new
history-making moment in Australian Survivor, Matthew Dyson. The first time we get a merge buff. Come on now, don't undersell this moment.
Finally, some bastard decided to actually get a merge buff this time. I mean,
but is it hot pink? Like you and I right now are wearing. We're wearing these great custom-made ones that Cable got done, which are red. Like these aren't pink, are they? Am I colourblind? Is this chartreuse again?
They're watermelon pink. Come on, Ben.
Sorry.
Dicko actually says, he goes, I guess you call it watermelon pink. Now, I had a look about it. I think, obviously, like you said, Cable, we organised to get these custom-made ones up there. They're sort of more of a what they would be, I guess, if we did a modern-day Celebrity Survivor with the Celebrity Survivor logo that, it's got a bit more zing to it, the tribal patterns and all that. But I have to admit, they're red. Looking back now, they're definitely watermelon pink. So I think maybe that was a little something we could have looked at, putting a bit of watermelon pink. I don't think we wanted the whole buff watermelon pink, but maybe.
Oh, come on, Matt. Why not? Like we got the white sort of grey Aurora, which they would never use in Survivor because of how dirty that would get. I for one, look, Bugger it, I am blaming Cable. Come on, Cable, you should have done your research here, mate. This wasn't good enough, You're going to get fired from this.
But, you should have, Cable. Episode 6. Episode 6, Dicko tells you the colour code, watermelon
gladly
pink.
Watermelon.
And Gabby says, no, hot pink. So
that's
Cable,
where I was getting the hot
Cable,
pink
you could have either done hot pink or watermelon pink. Have we had watermelon pink since in Survivor
We've
history?
had, I'm not going to hold this custom-made one. Well, actually, not, it's real. Shut up, I never got this made. The contenders, remember we got a pink contenders, so that's kind of, it's not watermelon
That's
pink.
probably that would be the closest, yeah.
Yeah, so outside of that, no. But
So
like, I mean,
that
it's
was
a
the
unique
thing.
colour. Like, I think that we're never going to have this again. So,
No.
I think kind of that's where you can look at it. But possibly calling our Dicko Thug Life moment. There's not much Dicko Thug Life in this episode, but the
Does
one
he play
I'm
the
thinking,
conch?
well,
Does
that's
he
what I
play
was
the
going to go
conch?
for. Yeah,
Yeah,
does
he play it, or does he play it, or is it edited over?
I want to believe it's played for real, but it's probably magic.
Probably edited.
I don't know. But, again, lacking a lot of special Dicko here. Maybe is he a man or is he a machine, and a bit of David Oldfield later. But I don't know. There's something about Dicko with a conch going that I feel needs a thug life.
Ben, do you know what the conch represents or symbolises in Vanuatu?
Yes, it's to signify the coming together, right, Matt? Is that correct?
It is. It is. It's basically a welcome, and especially when two tribes come together. So I think does Dicko always he's always in Vanuatu just blowing the conch when two tribes.
Dicko's always blowing some sort of conch. Come on. Like, I mean, he's doing this 15 years later, mate. Like, he's just, like, sitting around. He was on that, the Holy Moly, wasn't he? He's probably just blowing a conch, If he gets back on Idol when that comes back, he's blowing a conch. Like,
if we ever get Dicko on, which, of course, we really hope
don't say
do.
if, Matt. When we get Dicko on.
Okay, when. Yeah. I hope he comes on and we get him still in the pirate suit.
We should say to him, like you have to wear the pirate suit and you got to bring a conch. Like, it's that simple. But was it Borneo they had a conch that lasted all of like 3 or 4 episodes? Jeff Probst used to get a conch and then or did it last the whole season? I know it wasn't. I swear it disappeared.
It came and went quick. But a few things in Survivor came and went quick. In that, when they used to ring the first season, they ring the bell. They hit the bell and they walk in. That didn't last.
What is it about first season of Survivor and having bells as something signifying?
Yeah,
we had the immunity bell and all that sort of stuff.
Now, I think it is going to be the Thug Life moment, that conch, because I've got it written down here. Is this the Thug Life moment? So
yeah, well, there you go. We do it. I do 2 things I like. I want to say that sort of Dicko's little, I don't know what you call them, puns or something like that. In the opening credits talking about what happened last week, he said, Wayne's World fell apart. Ha ha ha, Wayne's World. And here, he was like, Wayne was told to get on his bike. So,
is he
job,
coming up with
Wayne.
these himself, or is
come on, he
Mason
is.
feeding it to him?
This is not a dig against JLP, but I'm telling you now, Dicko came up with these himself. JLP gets fed stuff. I'm sorry. He was told by somebody to do that Bradbury line at some point. Like, they were told him, like, Bradbury skated through again. Like, great JLP line, but come on. He's that's been sitting there. That's a easy one going to you. But this challenge, Matt, favorite challenge of the episode. I like this challenge.
It is, but before we get into it, they're playing for a reward prize. And what do you reckon of the prize? It's taken to a village. They're going to be greeted by 40 dancers.
I love it. And this is you and I.
They'll be the honorary guests, and they'll have a massive tribal feast where they'll eat and drink as much as they want. Now, I love this. This is what I love about Survivor. This is what I love about this season. There's multiple reward challenge here, and especially from now on in until the end, where they go out into these tribal villages and they get to experience, obviously, some of Vanuatu. This is what Survivor's about. So this is what I love. This where they, we get to see 3 people go to this village, and yes, obviously it's all a bit of a mock up for the show, but that's no different to when tourists go there and they go into the a village and it's organised for a bit of a thing like this. Don't take that that's not to be taken away. This is still this is something they'll remember forever. Like getting the opportunity to go into a village, have this feast. This is what Survivor's about, and I really hope with the new Australian Survivor being in Cloncurry, I just hope they get to do something like this. Whether I've never been to Cloncurry, so I don't really know a lot about that area, but there's got to be stuff that you could, that people would obviously go to Cloncurry to see all the surrounding areas. Like, this is what Survivor's about. This is what people and the viewers want to see. They want to see, oh, wow, like I'd like to do that one day. So this is what I love about this season. We're going to see obviously a bit more of it before the season's over. So yeah, it's a great reward challenge.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think you've famously told the story before about how, you've gone to places based on love of survival. Africa, I think, didn't you do the reward, similar thing that they did with one of those reward challenges?
Yeah,
and
I did the Lex and Tom hot air balloon right across the Masai Mara at Governor's Camp,
Yeah, and like, I'm with you, and I think this is... Old school Survivor can never lose this charm, and new school Survivor just doesn't do this at all, and it's such a shame. It's this cultural thing. I mean, this is obviously a lot... You could do this a lot easier when you were going to a new country every single season, new location. So, of course, you can embrace the culture. But, I love it. I love a challenge, a reward where you can experience the culture, and even as a viewer, like, I mean, I've not been to Vanuatu. Sure, I can watch it on National Geographic Channel or read about it in a book. Look it on the internet, of course I can, but I mean, I might not be interested in Vanuatu until all of a sudden I watch Survivor and go, wow, that looks pretty fucking epic. Like, I want to experience that. So it's just a unique little piece of it. And yeah, I'm with you. Like, it'd be nice if they did that on the upcoming Australian Survivor, kind of get a bit of, Indigenous culture or sort of some, live in the land. I mean, they did that, pretty decently on Australian Outback back in season 2. I think you and I talked a little bit about how they didn't really do that on Whalers Way, which was a bit disappointing. But like, embrace the culture. This is the first time you've got an Australian Survivor season overseas. And we've never, I don't think from memory, we've really ever had a cultural experience in either Samoa or Fiji on Australian Survivor in Channel 10's era. So...
Well, this is, I mean, if they don't do something like this in Cloncurry on this new season, it's for the tourism of Australia. It's going to be something badly missed, because people will see, especially now with COVID and lockdowns, people are going to be eager to travel again once the borders open up. And
100%.
And Australian Survivor's bigger, especially in America. A lot of Survivor fans, love watching the Australian version, and if they see this stuff in Cloncurry and they think, wow, like that, I want to go to Queensland, I want to go visit these places, people do it. It's definitely a big tourism thing. And not to mention, I think it just makes the season more watchable when you're not just watching people searching for an idol or sitting around camp, crapping on about stuff, like you want to, it takes you out of the show for that 10 minutes, and you're like, oh, wow, you get to experience along with them. So big credit to David Mason here and the whole crew that they obviously put this in. It's obviously a big trait of the old school Survivor, and that's something that I've really enjoyed, especially this episode.
And it's not the only one we get. We get a couple of other epic ones this season too.
Some bigger ones. Bigger ones, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, like, the one thing too that I'm glad they do this on a celebrity season. They could have easily just gone like, these are celebrities, like, they're going to see this or whatever. Like, I like the fact that they don't hold back and still give these people a cultural experience like this. I think it's kind of cool. And I think that I'm pretty sure in one of the closing words at one of these points, somebody talks about how, like, some of these experiences were like that they will live with them for the rest of their lives. And I think it might have been Imogen or something like that says that at one point. So yeah, these certain little things that, it's great that even sort of, they could have had every reward, like, go to a resort, you're a celebrity. Like, this is what you're expecting, so it's kind of, it's nice. But, yeah, go ahead, Matt, before I get into
I was just going to say,
challenge.
Basically, this challenge, it was, no one else had a chance, I don't think, other than Guy Leach. And Dicko officially, he's calling, Dicko's calling Guy Leachy throughout the whole challenge. So
yeah,
as we know, it's just Leachy now. But did anyone else have a chance of winning? I mean, you might want to explain it what they actually do, but I mean, it was always going to be Guy that wins this.
Absolutely, hands down. One thing I just quickly point out, Dicko, special note to the polo that he's wearing. It's sort of like a navy blue number with a bit of red trim, and he's got the sunnies going. So Dicko looking very cash, like he's just rocked out of the resort, put on something.
He has the army camo pants later on.
Yeah, Dicko's pulling off in the grey with the gel in it, like very 2006. Looking good there. This challenge is epic. I don't think Guy. No one else but Guy was going to win this. So essentially, it's an elimination challenge. So they have to swim out. There's 5 shells at the bottom. They love the shells this episode. So 7 players have got to swim down, dive, grab a shell, hold it up. First 5 go through to the next round. The next round then, with 5 players left, you've got 3 shells, 2 people eliminated, and then the last leg of the challenge is basically a big heavy trunk filled with sand, and you've got to basically drag it up to the beach. But yeah, no, Guy Leach completely dominates this from start to finish. Imogen, doesn't she talk about how she's not very fond of water or something along those lines? But yeah, the first 5 to go through are Guy, Justin, Elton, David, and Nicole. You get Dicko also referring to David as Oldfield as well, so he's really Jeff Probsting it in this episode with the last names. So Imogen and Gabby get to sit on the naughty plank, which I do like that little line. Then next up, into the final, Guy, Justin, and David again. Bit of a surprise, like, David's Mr. Physical here. Like
David comes second. I was going to say that he came second in this whole challenge. So yeah. Justin came third. So I think that, I mean, I don't know, Justin maybe not a great swimmer, but I'm surprised Elton, he got knocked out early.
Mr. Wallaby. Like, I mean, if you're going to say any physical challenge, you're going to think that a internationally capped rugby player, World Cup playing, Wallaby, he's going to beat a scrawny little politician from One Nation.
But I think that's why I'm saying, like, Guy was always going to win this, because if David's coming second in his challenge, David's obviously he's a very fit guy. Yeah. But if he's coming second in his challenge, Guy was never going to lose his challenge.
I'm going to say this is going to be controversial, but bear with me. I think they should have swapped the challenges around in this episode. If David Mason had any sort of inkling, and maybe if you didn't have the twist that maybe this is something you do, like, you want to keep someone like Guy around to fight, because Guy's good television, Guy's entertaining, Guy's, a bit of an eye candy as well. Like, Guy's a good character to keep. So you would make this the immunity challenge to kind of guarantee Guy's got immunity, like, it's kind of like how, South Pacific, oh, look, there's just swimming challenge after swimming challenge. Oh, Aussie might last longer here. Like, I mean, I'll have some criticisms. The first time this season I'll have some criticisms about a challenge is when we get to the immunity challenge. And it's not a bad challenge, it's the execution. They did it badly. So have that as your reward challenge, and then have this as your immunity challenge to keep Guy around and make it a little bit more interesting.
I couldn't agree with you anymore, Ben. You're spot on. Like, you honestly, out of everything you've ever said, that is the most true thing ever. Like, absolutely it should have been swapped around. It makes more sense too that, okay, it's a great reward challenge. So, as we know in the immunity challenge in this episode, you get given you get given the immunity by people. I mean, obviously we'll talk about it more when that comes up, but you're given the immunity challenge. You don't win it. Where this is actually just a standard a challenge where you've got to fight to win it. So absolutely, and the fact that they knew that Guy was on the chopping block, you want to keep Guy around. If that was now, like, you would swap them around. You wouldn't even think about it. You'd just do it, Yeah. Absolutely. Because, Guy's definitely going to win, unless he pulls a hammy or cramps in the water, he's going to win, So, absolutely. And I think it made more sense for the other challenge to be the reward challenge, because it's like, all right, well, who do you want to reward? Who do you want to go get a feast in the village? It makes more sense than who do you want to have immunity. But, I agree, Ben.
Well, thank you, Matt. I'm glad we finally took, what is that, like 48 episodes to get here? But hey, like, better late than never. But yeah, I can't imagine that any of these people, as soon as they saw this challenge, are like, oh, fuck, great, well, Guy's winning this one. But I do like, isn't it like right at the end when it's basically Nicole was the last one to get a shell, and there's the 3 girls left, and what does Dicko say? Like, come on, mermaids, do your stuff, or whatever he says. Also, we get the great line, the Guy Leach, is he a man or is he a machine? He's an Iron Man. Like, it's just, I feel like you need to have some sort of, what's that? We talk about it all the time over the Oz Network. Is it from the Karate Kid, that song, like, he's the best, nothing's gonna get me down. Like, that song, like, I kind of need a montage, like, Guy Leach doing that, like, he's a man, he's an Iron Man, he's the best, nothing's gonna keep it down. Like, I feel like you just need, like,
I gotta watch the Karate Kid again now.
Oh, that song. But I remember, I think we've talked about this before, and if we haven't, well, here we are. I remember as a kid, like, it was on the Sundays, watching the Nutri-Grain Iron Mans, like I remember kind of always watching those when they used to be on TV as a kid, and just the way they kind of promoted these people, and like Tassie would always have people and would always suck, but like I remember Guy Leach from watching those and things like that. So I feel like you need to have some sort of advertising campaign for Nutri-Grain around that. Just, like we talked about like Amber and all that getting like, what was it, Neutrogena hairstyle, whatever the hell it was. Like, where's Guy Leach's advertising campaign? You're the best, the best. Is that our closing song, or are we sticking with Bet Cartwright? Have we worked that out yet?
Oh, I had another one in mind. I was thinking,
You're going to save that for the end, are you? Going to not spoil it?
Yeah, we'll run it by you. We'll see. We'll maybe have a debate about it.
I looked up Bet Cartwright, 2002 or 2003. It's not quite from the same era, but anyway.
Nah.
But yeah, one thing also I love, and this is what pisses me off about Modern Survivor, about how I sounded like Jerry Seinfeld there, didn't I? This really pisses me off. What is the deal with Modern Survivor? Like, this to me is what a reward challenge should be, to add extra spice to Survivor. Make them choose who goes with you on a reward. It's strategic, it brings extra elements to the table, and it spices it up. If you just have 2 teams of 4 or 2 teams of 3, like, nothing from that adds anything. You've just got whoever you've got on the random draw.
Oh,
I mean, Guy right now, who does he take with him? He takes Elton and Gabs. And straight away everyone's like, oh, clearly that's strategic. Like, very smart cookie, our Guy Leach, whoever says that. And like, even Guy's like saying like, like this is what I need to do. Like, I don't understand how in any producer's mind that they just literally don't see this as something that should be a staple of Survivor, because it spices things up.
Oh, absolutely. I just wish Dicko first said, you get to take one, and then he picks one, and then you're like, you know what? There's room for one more, pick another one. Because that way you kind of get to see who the first choice was.
Yeah.
When he's told straight away, we'll take 2, he just picks 2. And obviously, I like when they do that. I'll take one, and then they bring one over and like, you know what? There's room for one more, pick another one.
I agree.
I prefer that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you with that one there too. But I mean, we get this epic sort of feast that we get to see, and was it 40 dancers they're greeted by, and they're kind of coming out with them. It reminds me of literally the opening of Vanuatu, that famous line was it Leanne says like, they came with us with spears, and like that was the name of the episode title. And just the reactions of the people, and I love kind of them sitting around eating chicken and octopus and fucking Elton. Like, I'd say Elton doesn't really do much, but Elton's at Elton's best here. He's, we had chicken dish and freshly caught snapper and some octopus. Like, fucking Elton's wet for food. He doesn't have his steak, but, all I just want him there is to be like, fucking beef. Where's my fucking beef?
And he's breaking shit. He's breaking shit,
he's
man.
Literally breaking shit. Like, everyone's breaking shit again. Like, Elton's just absolutely on board here. But it's kind of nice to see these guys interact. Like, you kind of got a nice little moments there with, like, Gab's, like, with the kid. And I think even Elton and Guy are sort of both there kind of, sharing stuff with the kids there. It's kind of like a nice little moment. And then, we've got the fucking bow and arrows here.
I like when he breaks it and then he's like, the chief tells him, very, very strong man to break the bow, and Elton gives a bit of a flex. He does a bit of a muscle flex.
It's just so very, just even the way, like, we went over and we posted that clip on our social media months ago when we did the episode, but when Elton's getting popped on the head with a coke and he's like, oh, like, but even here, he like snaps and turns straight to Guy, and they're both like, oh, this poor Vanuatu chief probably going like, oh, that's my favourite bow. And I
like when Guy offers to wash the dishes to help.
Yeah, we wash dishes, and he's like, "You were a very strong man." Elton gives him a cuddle, like, Elton gives the chief a cuddle. Like, how can you not like Elton? Like, Elton's just, we talk about how do you talk about these people, and like, on the grand scheme of things, Elton's Elton. Like, he doesn't really bring a whole lot to the table in terms of strategy and gameplay, but like, just these little moments. Like, I think I called him in the very first episode, like, Elton's the Sylvan of this season. Like, he's just entertainment. He just drops some things, and just even like when he kind of turns to the chief and he's all like, yeah, mate, look, you snapped his poor bow, and oh god, so good. But what an experience. This would be so much fun.
Absolutely, and I love the staple of Survivor when you see this first big challenge like this where there's a big feast, they always then flick back to camp, and then the other contestants that didn't get to go on, they're all miserable. They're trying to do renovations to the camp because obviously this is the most that's ever been on a beach at the one time because obviously there's only 12 people, so 6. Yeah, so now all of a sudden they've got to create more space because they never had to worry about having 7 people in a hut there before. So they're trying to do renovations, but David at his best once again. Obviously he takes Imogen off for a chat. This is where they're talking about, well, you know, Dave, he's such a smart player. Like he knows obviously that Nicole and Imogen, they're a tight 2. So he's like, hey, well, you guys are the tightest 2 out here. Me and Elton, we're the next 2 tight 2. Like, we're the second tightest 2 out here. How about we make a 4 and go to the end? And it gets Imogen thinking. And look, honestly, if I get that far in a game and I'm in a tight 2, you know, and another tight 2 say, hey, let's team up, of course you're gonna think about it and say this might be our best option because we've seen it plenty of times before. We have seen it plenty of times before in Survivor, and it works.
It's funny actually that I mentioned 10 minutes ago that we didn't really do we ever get to see an Imogen David scene getting to know each other. It's in this episode, Ben, but like I feel like there's more to it. That's my point. Like, you know, that's kind of what I say. But it goes back to my point, David, the MVP of this episode, and we're really starting to get David Oldfield at his absolute best. You know, like this is genius to go. Like he straight away points out, like, yeah, you and Nick are strong too. Well, Elton and I are a strong too. Let's make a 4, and boom, you've got 7 people, 4, 7, done. There's kind of your odds there. Spoiler alert, ultimately it's not really going to play out that way because David, I guess, kind of mainly turns this into a 3. Which again is on David, but like David's still planting the seeds here. David's still like going through this, and like again, if we don't have this twist and our final 3 is the final 3 it should be, I mean, just we could have had such an epic final 3 of this season. Like, oh god, I can't wait till we get to that episode to just talk about the what ifs of how this season could have been remembered if that's the final 3. Because I would vote if we voted the greatest final 3s in Australian Survivor history. I would almost go out on a limb and say the final 3 of this, if it had been David, Imogen, and Nicole, would probably be the greatest final 3 in Australian Survivor history. Like, name another final 3 for me, Matt, that's better than this.
No, I agree. It'd be definitely a solid final 3. But Imogen has a great confessional here too. She says, you know, David's a very good salesman, and she says, you know, obviously he's a politician. He knows how to talk, and that, you know, she says he's given me a good pitch, which it was. It was a great pitch. You know, let's team up, and make a 4. But she says she doesn't trust anyone except for Nick. So Nicole's the only one that she trusts. And although David's obviously gone to her with a good plan, yeah, she's still obviously cautious, as you would be. I mean, David's a player, you know, and I mean, I say that in a nice way. Like he's a game player. And of course, and that's the hardest thing. Do you trust him? Do you not? And I think that's ended up being his downfall in the end, that they think he's actually lying to him in the end. But you know, he's a thinker. David's a thinker, and he comes with them with a good idea. And obviously, Imogen's a bit shady on it, but she is considering it.
Which again comes to the point we've talked about before about how like a politician is one of these professions that I'm surprised we don't see more in Survivor because like again I always refer back to Brian Heideck and the used car salesman. Like this is their job. Like this is what they do, and no wonder they're so good at it. And like how many times does David get called out this season as being a politician? Even Amber talked to us in the interview about like, you know, him being a politician, like, but like you get to know this guy, and like he's just clearly, as we see very shortly in the immunity challenge, like, is it a cooking thing? Like, he's doing so well with cooking, but like, David is a very smart cookie. Like, I'm sure he knew that he was going to be targeted because of his reputation. We've talked about that before. There's no way somebody cannot automatically make an assumption of this guy based on his history of who he is and who he used to be associated with outside of the game. You just can't avoid that. But no one's hating David. Everyone's loving David. They're about to give him immunity. Like, I mean, it's incredible that somebody like this could be so well liked, so smart, gets along with everyone, quite physical. Like, I mean, gosh, like this guy is such a complete package. And like, I'm talking about a guy that if you right now went to average Joe on the street, probably would hate this guy's guts based on his reputation. But, like as a Survivor player, again, this to me, once again, sounded like a broken down record, but this is the travesty of having an all-star season of Australian Survivor and not having someone like David fucking Oldfield on Australian Survivor. Like, it's just, it's ridiculous. Like, he should be on an All-Stars. He's a shoo-in on a normal world when we agree to all seasons existing in this universe.
I'm telling you, Benny could walk on right now and play Survivor.
Oh,
He'd be just as good as he was, if not better. He's probably even wiser than he was back then.
He was on Hell's Kitchen. He was on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. So, I mean, it's not like he hasn't gone on to do this.
Now they just keep getting Chappelle Corby on these shows. How about get rid of Chappelle Corby, get David Oldfield on Trust Me, better ratings. Now,
Jesus.
So it's day 13. This is where the three boys, when I say Elton, David and Guy, they're getting together, they're chatting. They know it's going to be one of them, right? Obviously, David's keeping quiet that he's sort of had a chat to Imogen about this before, but Guy's probably pretty worried by this stage. They're having a bit of a chat. David says his line here, and I actually had to replay it a few times to listen to it. He says, when they're talking about, it could be one of us, could be me. And then David says, hopefully they see some value in Captain Cook. Is that? I'd love to know. I don't know. Did they call him Captain Cook when he was out there, or maybe. I don't know. I've never heard it before, but he's referring to himself as Captain Cook. I don't know whether someone said that because he was a part of One Nation or something. I don't know, but I just thought that was a random thing that they put into the show where, he says, hopefully they see some value in Captain Cook, but. Yeah, it took me, like I said, I had to rewind it about 3 times. I'm like, did he say Captain Cook?
So when we get him on the show, do we introduce him as Captain Cook?
Captain Cook? Why not? Captain James Cook? Why not?
James Cook, whatever it is. I like that sort of line. It's actually, it's quite interesting. But yeah, I like kind of this little moment here where the three of them are having a bit of a chat. Like, again, like this is my point before, like, where's Justin? But clearly sort of Justin's kind of one of the, like Justin's kind of invisible really this episode, but I guess kind of he's relishing the fact that, the girls are back. Like, clearly he's much more comfortable around the girls. I'll be honest with you, if this was me on Survivor, I would be Justin, like, because I'm much more comfortable around girl. Like, I'm not the guy's guy. Like, I'm not going to be hanging around with the rugby player and the Iron Man, maybe David because he's, but like, I'm not going to be the bros. So like, I'm probably going to be off with the girls myself. So,
but then, okay, is that why David's so good? Because he can hang with the bros and he can hang with the women.
No, I agree with you.
And that's what makes him so good.
Credit to Justin in a way too, because Justin can do the same, but he's
absolutely.
He kind of discards the boys when he doesn't have to be with them, but he can go to them if they need him. But isn't it interesting how you never hear the guys talk about getting Justin on side? They're always talking about Gab being the swing vote. Like, it's so interesting that obviously Elton and David have been hanging out with Justin for this amount of time. But I mean, again, maybe they just are that flat out knowing that, Justin straight away, he's not going to be with us.
They probably know he's bribing people on the other.
When did this start?
Now, just leading in before the immunity challenge, this is where the girls are chatting about who they want out. Nick, I said, I talked about it before. Nick wants David gone if Guy wins immunity, and Imogen's like, no, we want Elton gone if, due to his strength, that if Guy wins. So obviously Imogen's she wants to get rid of the big boys, the strength. But immunity challenge, Ben, it's called Snakes and Ladders. I love when they give the name.
Give it an actual name. Now, yeah. But just before we get into that, I just wanted to quickly say, I've written that down about, that's Nicole and Gab wanted David gone. And who is it says, don't you think will be more pleasant without David? Is that Gabs who says that?
Well, no, I think Gab actually says, I think it would be more pleasant with David.
I thought it was without David. Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
anyway.
I think that was another thing I think I rewound just because I wasn't sure what she said, and I'm pretty sure she said I think it would be more pleasant with David, but I could be wrong. I'm a first food man, who knows?
Props to Imogen. I think like it's smart on her level because, like, again, she's kind of sort of made this loose alliance with David. So like it's like this is smart on Imogen's behalf too. Like, you kind of think Imogen's a bit ditzy and whatever, but like, again, she's thinking about the game. We've talked about these sort of little subtle things that they do with Imogen, that you see with Imogen, that makes her a really strong player. And it's just fascinating to me because like, she's just there, like, she could easily just straight away go like, yeah, let's go along with David. Like, who cares? But like, she's kind of like, oh no, what about Elton? Like, just kind of, it takes one little line to say that, to then kind of work for Imogen's benefit. And it does work for Imogen's benefit. Let's be honest. It will work for Imogen's benefit to have David around. So, just a smart little move there. But, I'm with you. Immunity challenge. I like when they have names for it. We didn't get another tree mouse, so sadly you can't do your job here. But couple of things before we get into this, because I've got a bit to say about this challenge. One thing I just want to really backtrack to the name of the tribe. Do we get why they're called Tanner? Do we ever understand why they're called Tanner?
Well, Tanner's just Tanner's the island where the volcano is.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Because they're all islands. So Moso's an island. Cool as an island, and then
was-
Tanner's the main one, which is the volcano.
I was hoping they were James Bond fans, and just a nod over to our 007 listeners. Download now, great show. I wanted them to go back to The World Is Not Enough with Bond's line of Tanner. James Bond fans will get it. They're laughing all the way.
Now,
but this challenge.
Well, this challenge